Hi guys, welcome to episode 4 of The Craft. I'm your host, Elena Randazzo, and this is the podcast where creatives and inspirational people come to talk about their talent, passion, and process leading up to big moments. Today's guest, we have Tom McGee, who is a health and fitness coach here in New York City. Along with being a health and fitness coach, he's also a mentor and entrepreneur with starting his own business and having his own clients that he works one-on-one with to improve their meal plans, their daily workouts, and he also coaches them into having a healthier lifestyle altogether. Tom pivoted from his 9-to-5 corporate real estate job back in 2020, and ever since, he's been working on his own business. Listen today to hear Tom's advice and hearing what he has to say about living a healthy lifestyle, pivoting to customize your own workout plans and routines to something that really works and isn't going to overwhelm you. I cannot wait for you to hear today's advice on the podcast. And if you guys don't mind, just please take a moment to like and rate the podcast. If you have a chance, whatever platform you're listening to this on, it would really, really help the podcast. So thank you all so much, and I hope you enjoy today's episode. Welcome to The Craft, everyone, where we talk about how people have mastered their passions and turned side hustles into real hustles, and overall everyone's love of their journey and how they came to essentially master their craft. Today we have Tom McGee, who is an entrepreneur, fitness coach, mental and health wellness coach as well.
Yep.
And you've been doing this for 5 years now?
Yeah, 4.5, 5
4.5
years right now. Yep.
Okay, cool. You turned coach from corporate professional life.
Yep.
So you took a pivot.
Yep.
Okay, big pivot. We're going to talk about all of that. Thank you so much for coming today.
I appreciate you, Lena. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, of course. And based in New York City, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. Let's begin with, did you go to school? And if you went to school, what did you study and what did you originally want to be when you grew up?
Yes, I went to college. I went to College of Charleston in South Carolina, and I was a communications major. And I don't really think, we were kind of saying this before we were on the podcast. I'm like, I don't really know what I learned in college except for having a really good time. You know, I think that and making some good friends, but that's where I went to school, and yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Honestly, everyone that I've talked to so far, that's kind of their take on school. They're like, did it really help me become who I am today? And yeah, it's totally valid. So wait, what did you study?
Communications major.
Communications. Oh, yeah. Cool. In Charleston.
Yep, in Charleston. But I didn't really
Nice.
know what I wanted to do. So I think my experience was I just didn't really have much direction.
Okay.
Right? So I just kind of went through the normal college life. But it's it never really clicked. I wasn't really passionate about anything. I was learning, and I think that's important, right? Or else it's what does this translate to?
Totally. Yeah, it's important to kind of, if you're not interested in something, I feel like the pathway to finding that is really fulfilling once you do kind of gravitate towards now what you're doing today.
Exactly.
Which is fitness and health and wellness, which is a really fulfilling career, I'm gonna guess.
Yeah, so it all comes full circle back to what I do now.
Yeah, exactly. How did you, post-college, how did you gravitate towards, did you go straight into a job after college?
Yeah, so I worked for a tech sales company, and I did a lot of door-to-door sales, and if anyone's done that is not the most fun, glamorous job, but I learned a lot. I learned a lot about rejection and
people skills.
Oh yeah, because you pick up quick on how to read people, and so that was a whole experience. And then I did that for 2 or 3 years, and then I switched to commercial real estate, and I did that for another 3 or 4 years.
Oh wow, okay.
And then I pivoted to what I'm doing now.
Okay, cool. And I've done door-to-door sales before, and I feel your pain. Yeah.
Do you have any good stories?
Yeah, it's so funny. In California, basically, long story short, we had to go door to door selling this new styrofoam that was going to be not getting in the ocean or something. Or maybe we were banning styrofoam. I don't know. But I'm so stubborn that I had a sales rep that I knew was successful at doing this, and I had her go door to door for my sales.
Oh, wow.
And I was just chilling on the pier in California. I think I offered to pay her, which doesn't make any sense because I was obviously doing this job for money.
Right.
So anyways, yes, I scapegoat sales. But so you went to commercial real estate from the sales.
Yes.
For how long did you real estate?
I probably did that for almost 4 years.
4 years.
So yeah, I was like, like my journey doing the door-to-door sales, like it wasn't, I knew I wanted, like the beginning was really tough. Like I was almost fired in the beginning.
How?
Because I wasn't producing enough.
Oh.
And then I was like, I'm going to knock on every like business to get this sold. I mean, I was doing like 50, 60.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like a day. And because I remember my boss I remember there was a point like the first 6 months in, he's like, you haven't sold anything. Like, I don't think this is going to work out. And then I was like, oh, I got to like flip this around. And I just went super hard into being consistent with like meeting people and putting myself out there. And after like 3 or 4 months of that, like I started to like bring in business. And then like a year after that, I went from being fired almost to, I had to convince him to keep me around, to being, I think it was like out of like 45 people, the top producer in the company.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah, so that kind of like stuck a lesson in my mind that like, there's a lot I couldn't control, but like I could control my actions. And when I hit that point after being with them for a couple years, I had some confidence in myself, and I was like, okay, I want to take the next step. I want to, make more money.
Yeah,
and that's where I thought like commercial real estate at that time was the next step.
Okay.
So then I went into that.
Okay, cool. And you think your skills from the sales into real estate, you think they are transferable skills? You're learning people skills, how to build connections with people, how to keep clients, which now today obviously have also built for you to be successful.
Totally. And I think it's a lot of those skills did transfer over. And I had a good experience doing the real estate, but I felt like I was working, but I never was like really passionate about what I was doing. Like it was kind of just like on this hamster wheel of just like, trying to make more money and trying to like I just never felt like super satisfied in the day-to-day of what I was doing.
Yeah.
So that kind of led to a bit of a burnout, and really me kind of like reevaluating like what am I, like why am I, like what's the point of this?
Right. Kind of just going through the motions.
I mean, I was working hard and I was doing okay, but I was just like, I want to bet on myself that if I redirected that energy into just something that like I actually enjoyed doing, like I'm like, if I give myself a year at this and it doesn't work out, like okay, that's fine, but if I actually figure this out, like to me that's like it's worth the shot.
Yeah, it's more fulfilling for you to pursue something that now you found yourself interested in.
Totally.
Yeah.
I mean, and I felt like I was really kind of like, and it goes back to we were talking about in college. It was like I never really found that thing I was really like lit up to learn.
Yeah. Didn't just come to you.
No,
you had to kind of search for it.
Yeah, and I kind of went through the journey of those different jobs, and those came with their own like hardship, but learning from them.
Yeah.
And but then I was just like, I felt like someone was missing.
Yeah.
And I was 28 years old, and I hit that point where I was like, I can keep going down this route, but like again, I want to take a chance for a year.
Yeah.
Doing something different, and if it doesn't work out, like what's the worst thing that could happen? I'll work for a different commercial real estate company and go back to it. Like I didn't want to do that, but I was thinking like it's worth the chance. So I took the leap, and it wasn't easy, but at the same time, like I found so much more satisfaction in just kind of like what I was learning. And I feel like I was searching for that information, and it just lit me up a different way, and I've never had that before.
Yeah. How would you say you found the balance? Because between pivoting between your, we're going to call it like a 9-to-5. I know real estate isn't totally like a 9-to-5 job, but between balancing the real estate, did you just quit it and then transfer to the fitness?
Yeah, that's a great question. And so I did quit. And this is probably
Okay.
not, I wouldn't recommend this to anyone. Like I would plan
Take it with caution.
Yeah, I plan it
with your
differently.
own-
But yeah,
Okay.
so I quit my job and then I started working for just like commercial gym. And
Okay.
so when I did that, I mean, the income went down a lot.
Yeah,
Because I'm starting over from scratch and I had no, like growing up, I was always an athlete and I loved sports. I loved exercising. I loved learning about nutrition. I loved like just like taking care of myself, wellness, but I didn't know, like I wasn't a professional. I didn't know enough at that point. So I had to start at the bottom.
Wow.
And that's not easy to do when you're in New York and you have to pay rent and it's not cheap here.
No.
So I really had to like get a smaller, I had to downgrade like my
Yeah.
lifestyle a lot.
Did you do the small apartment?
Yeah, I mean, I did I had flex bedroom,
Okay.
like random roommates,
Yeah.
and like,
Yeah.
but like but that was kind of like
It's all part of it.
I was at the weirdest point. I was just like, I was okay with that because I was like, you know what? I just in my gut, I feel like this is gonna pay off. I don't know when it's gonna pay off, but I just feel like I'm moving in the right direction. So I was okay with it.
Yeah, because I feel like what most people don't recognize is if you're taking this leap, obviously you have to give and take some, right? Because it's a chance you're taking and you can't just try to pursue a new thing that you're stepping into fresh water, and building it takes time.
Totally.
So
it doesn't happen overnight.
It doesn't happen overnight, exactly. So that's good that you recognize that you had to do what you had to do to now get to the life where it's more fulfilling, more just honestly like something that you love to do.
Yeah, and I still have I don't have it all figured out now. I still have my own day-to-day challenges, but like in the grand scheme of things, I'm much more satisfied. And it's so interesting. It's like even the things that like I grew up having no interest in, whether it's like finances and like learning how to like really market and all these things, but now I relate it to my business and I'm like, actually now I'm really interested in this.
Yeah.
So now I search that out and I go down these rabbit holes and I'm like this is not the same person I was growing up.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
that's
So,
amazing because
yeah.
everything I feel like connects to the other. Like as soon as you're building all those steps, you're like, oh, I can do this now, or I can do this now, or it's a mental challenge that you're kind of just every day beating yourself at.
Yeah.
Because obviously when you're quitting your job, doing the gyms, learning all this from scratch, how long did you work at the gyms for?
So I worked for a commercial gym for a year and a half when I first started,
Right.
and it was I'll tell you another funny story. So
Okay.
this is I remember when I first started, the manager was like, first of all, I had to build my own client base, right? So like I started off with nothing, and I was waiting for people to like the gym to like hand me clients, and after 3 or 4 months, the manager pulls me aside. He's like, Tom, I don't know if this is gonna work out. Like you're not getting any clients. And then I was
Right.
like, that same instinct I had when I talked about that door-to-door job, I was like, well, me sitting back and just like letting this happen is not gonna get me to where I want to be.
Right.
So I literally was that person, that annoying. Like I talked to everyone that went through that gym. I talked to 100 people a day, and I wasn't even going there to like sell them on something. I was there just to like let them know who I am, provide them value, and when that happened, like people saw that I was like actually interested in like helping them out, and then my business, like everything started to click.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's kind of like then I was booked out.
Oh my God.
So it's kind of like that same pattern I recognized when I first started.
Yeah, so you kind of had to be the one to take the initiative
Yeah.
to
I couldn't sit
Go-
back and just
yeah.
because or else I would be stuck. Like I would just
right.
And another funny thing was like when they pulled me in there, they're like at one point they're like, "Hey Tom, everyone's getting a raise," and I'm like, "Oh, a raise? That's great!" And he gives me this piece of paper to sign, and on the top of it's like, "New York City raises minimum wage." Like,
No way.
I'm like, "Oh, like great pitch,
Like, great.
great
Thank you
pitch,
so
yeah."
much.
Like
Thank
this
you for
isn't
being
helping
excited.
my lifestyle, but it put that like battery in my back to like really like take the initiative, take ownership, and like
Yeah.
not just sit back, but like put myself out there to make this happen.
Right. Yeah, I love your and I'll clip this too, but your video where you tell yourself to fall forward instead
Totally.
of fall back. Oh, that hit me. I was like, I had to rewatch that a few times. That's such a good mentality to say, no, I don't care if I have or I think you were saying I don't care if I don't have a plan B or whatever. I don't want to fall back, or I hate when people give me the mentality of what do you have to fall back on? It's like you're going to fall forward. You're going to do.
Yeah.
You're going to succeed at what you're trying to do.
Yeah. I found that nothing in life is worthwhile unless you take some risk. Growing up, I was told to make sure you have something to fall back on. I always thought if I'm going to fall back, I don't want to fall back on anything. I want to fall forward. 4 years ago, at 28 years old, I quit my corporate job and decided to chase my passion with zero experience and become a trainer. I knew if I didn't try, I would always regret it. During this time, I had no idea about proper lifting and nutrition. I failed almost every step of the way, but I knew every time I failed, I was one step closer to figuring it out. When I didn't feel like going to the gym, I would still show up and put my best effort in. Fall forward. Worried what people would think of me when I started my fitness account, I thought to myself, fall forward. Not giving up when COVID hit and I had to move back home with my parents and pivot my business to online, fall forward. 6 months ago, I had less than 2,000 followers, but I was able to focus on my social media and caught a break. This week, I'm able to retire from the gym and become a full-time online fitness and nutrition coach. Whenever you fall throughout life, remember this: don't give up, stay consistent, and fall forward. And I think the other important thing for anyone starting off, again, I've failed so many times and I'm still failing, but I can't let that stop me.
Yeah, it's a part of it.
It's part of it. And I look back at every time I failed, I reevaluated what went wrong, why did it go wrong, and then I come back with things I would do differently, and that you learn from that. I feel like that's how people learn.
It is. It's really how you learn. Unless you have someone who's done everything that you're trying to do, which is going to be a very rare circumstance. I mean, you can have people that you look up to and whatnot, and people ask for advice, but no one's going to be holding your hand through every single step of the way, being like, okay, and now do this. It's almost your inner voice telling you what to do. And
I mean, and those having mentors are super helpful, and I think I've had some along the way, but at the end of the day, it's up to you.
Yeah.
You got to make it happen. And
just starting anything off fresh, I feel like you're entering almost a new lens. I like to tell people, I wear contacts, I can't see, but it's like starting a new project. It's almost like you're getting your prescription. You have to go and see what works. You can't just, I don't know,
totally
not care about it. Obviously, if you can't see, you're not gonna be oh, I'm just gonna go through life and I can't see. You're gonna find what works.
Yeah. And I think another pivotal moment in my career was when at the year and a half in at this gym, I feel like I plateaued there. I wasn't, when you're working for someone, I just feel like there's only so much you can make. So I wanted to go independent. I wanted to work for myself. I really had a dream of owning my own business. So I went independent, got into one of the really kind of nicer gyms in the city. And I was so motivated. But COVID hit 2 months later. So that was whoa, okay, I finally have my break, and now I'm I have to go back home to my parents' house because what do I do now? I'm sitting home for 2 months and just twiddling my thumbs. But then I was you know what? I'm going to, I need to figure this out. So I started my online coaching, and that's when I started my online coaching, was then the beginning of COVID. Because I knew I had to pivot. I knew how to change. Exactly.
Yeah. Did you take your clients from the gym to your own online business?
Yeah, I took some of them. Yep. Okay. And my online business has definitely changed since I first started a lot, but that was I always knew I kind of wanted to do this, but it kickstarted that where I'm at today.
Yeah.
And I needed that really I needed the adversity I was going through at that time forced me to take action to do this.
Wow.
And I think that's like I said, sometimes when things are you're kind of backed in that corner, and it pushes you to do things maybe you weren't going to do before.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's actually good.
I agree with you, because you don't have another option. And your other option is you're going to fall flat on your face and go back to whatever job or life you had before. And, that's not what you want to do. Obviously, you're going to do everything to make it work.
Yeah. And I think it just goes back to just when things don't work out, you just got to pivot and just do the best you can, and just keep looking to improve every single day. And not every single day, but weekly, you want to look back and try to find something that you can do better or something like that.
Yeah, just doing the best that I think you can do, and knowing your limits and what's possible. Because when you started this, so this was 2020 that you started your online. Mm-hmm. Okay, would you say it was harder building a client base that is coming back to you consistently, or maybe signing up for your monthly programs, or however you were doing it at the time? Was it almost easier to keep a connection with people because it was so we were in a time where it was, isolated and whatnot, or what was that like?
No, it's difficult because, yeah, I'm not with them, and
Yeah.
I'm trying out different things. So I actually, because I was living home, I actually got people that I knew, and I was giving
cool.
it away for free. I was like,
Oh,
look,
wow.
I go, I'm gonna let you do this, but like, I just want honest feedback about what's working for you, what you like and don't like.
Oh, that's smart.
So I kept doing that, and then as I kept doing it, a couple of my clients ended up really liking it, and they gave me some referrals. And when I got those referrals, then I started charging them, but I started low, and I eventually just kind of kept, going up from there.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like I had everything figured out, and I'm still learning, but it's that gradual, just kind of like, I always want to just try to make it a little bit better and make sure I'm adding value.
Yeah, I think that's smart because I think starting out, everyone has these challenges where they're like, what do I charge people? How do I do this? Or how do I do that? And I think you are doing it smart because if you can get referrals from your friends or people who are actually going to vouch for you and be like, oh, hey, Tom's doing this. He's doing it really well. Like, you should definitely go and learn from him. I think that's really smart.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and then I came back to New York after COVID, or like, I don't know, a year and a half ago.
Okay.
Went back to doing some in-person training, but the online stuff just kind of kept growing. I kept working on that, prioritizing that, and then started really focusing on my social media, and that was a game changer. That was a big break for me. And that happened pretty recently.
Okay.
The last 6 months, I've gotten some good followers, but and now it's my full-time thing. I'm really just focusing on my online coaching, which is personalized fitness, nutrition programming, and also helping people with their lifestyle habits.
Yeah.
And now it's exciting because I can put my full attention to this, and I've never had that before.
Yeah, that's
so
amazing.
I'm really going hard into this, and we'll see how it pans out. I can't predict the future, but
right.
But I have a pretty good audience, and I'm having fun doing this.
Yeah, you look like it because that's how I mean, you came up on my Instagram and I just thought one of your videos were curated they were made with top tier advice, which I feel like that's hard to categorize in a video.
Thank you.
But yeah, you were doing that really well. And then the other thing I noticed is you weren't just a fitness coach. You were actually actively telling people how to live a better life, which is kind of like, obviously, why would you not hire you? Like, you know what you're doing.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing too is I wasn't always fitness and nutrition coach. I worked the corporate grind. I know the ups and the downs of that. It's not easy. So I think there's a difference where a lot of people in fitness is they have their mindset that everyone has all this time to work out. They tell them to eat chicken and rice every time.
Yeah.
I knew when I was working my corporate job, I'm like, that's not realistic.
No.
I have a million other things going on.
Yeah.
So I try to keep that mindset because that's the person I'm trying to talk to is how would I have talked to myself when I was younger? How would I have helped myself if I could go back in that situation, take better care of my health?
Oh, I like that. Yeah. That's
so, so I keep that in mind, and I think that kind of gives me a different perspective. And I think as long as you kind of find your own niche, and I appreciate you find value in it. That's really what it's about. I'm just trying to help people.
Yeah, because I just think the world's so saturated nowadays. It is hard to find. I know there's other people who give really good advice on the internet, but I feel like, I don't know, you're right. You're catering to an audience that maybe doesn't have all the time in the world. Because I noticed one of your videos too, you were saying, you're like, take this with a grain of salt or something. You can still have a drink, but maybe cut out a drink here and there and do this way. And that's really nice because sometimes people just don't want to go cold turkey with everything.
Totally, and you don't have to.
Yeah.
It's, I think and I almost think it's I think talking about improving these healthier lifestyle habits, it's not like everything has to be done at once,
right?
Because that's overwhelming.
Yeah.
I think of it as, I think of my career, I think of a lot of these things as just getting 1% better every week.
Yeah.
And focusing on mastering the simple basic habits, and then maybe even one habit at a time, and then eventually that compounds to a year from now or 2 years from now. You look back, you're like, whoa,
yeah,
this is great. I never expected to be this far, but just making sure that it's a gradual process and not a 30-day challenge. Like I think those times it sets people up for failure.
Yeah.
And they think there's something wrong with them, and it's like, no, it's just it's too much too quick. We need to like make sure it fits within your lifestyle, and then we break this down into something that's more sustainable.
Yeah, because the fad diets I feel like everyone nowadays is trying to get something so quick, and sometimes that's just not how it works, especially we feel like with our bodies. You have to really nurture it and take care of it and learn what works for you because everyone's different.
Well, I'll give an example. Like I know that I could coach someone and have someone that's overweight, I could have them drop 20 pounds in a couple months. Like that's like I could restrict their eating.
Yeah.
I could be like really aggressive with them.
Yeah.
But guess what happens with that person? They crash and burn with their habits, and they end up reverting back to where they were.
Yeah.
So what I like to think about is like, how do we, again, make this sustainable where they're making progress, they're losing that weight, but it's not extreme. And I think that's the part where a lot of these fad diets and things that we see marketed everywhere is they promote that really extreme type of lifestyle because they know it gets results, but at the same time, it's not sustainable. So it's too quick and it's too extreme.
Yeah.
So the people that I work with, not only do they get in shape, not only do they lose weight if that's their goal, but they learn the actual habits they need to put in place, the foundation to keep that for life.
That's so smart.
So like I'm really equipping them with the tools that they're going to need that they can carry on for everything else.
Yeah.
So they can maintain it.
Because it's what is it to keep a habit? Like 21 days to keep a solid habit. Yeah.
Yeah. Something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. I don't know if you read the book Atomic Habits, but the 1% better and like the slow build, because it's actually, telling all my friends this, it's easier to keep a good habit than keep fighting your body on a bad habit. Because once you kind of get used to your new, I don't know, whatever lifestyle. Like say like I had to cut out coffee, and I want to talk about that caffeine with you because I think it's interesting. But you have to, like, it's almost easier for my body now to wake up naturally, drink a smoothie instead of go right to caffeine, because I'm not like fighting my body on like, for me it was causing, I just feel like an energy shock. It was like I have natural energy, but the caffeine was almost like too much. It was like my body's like gonna crash later in the day.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah. I think caffeine is one of those things where it's different for everyone.
Yeah.
Like I like my sister could drink a cup of coffee before she goes to bed. I don't know how she does it, but she can fall asleep fine and she functions great. So there's those type of people.
Yeah.
Me, I drink 2 cups of coffee and I'm wired and I have a hard time sleeping.
Yeah.
And I'm just sensitive to it. So
yeah.
This is something I set for kind of like my New Year's kind of resolution. I was going to give myself 30 days to stop the caffeine and, still drinking caffeine, but switch from coffee to tea.
Smart.
So I wasn't trying to do anything too drastic because I knew I felt like I still needed some caffeine, but it was a lower amount. So it really helped me not, because I was dealing with some adrenal fatigue where I would feel really burnt out after a couple of days of drinking too much coffee, and I didn't get that with the tea.
Okay.
And I'm only, again, speaking from my experience because I want to try this out on myself to see if it worked for me first.
Yeah.
But it's really helped me out. I feel like I have less jitteriness. My sleep quality's gotten better. And eventually, like, I'd love to not have to rely on any caffeine.
Yeah.
But I know that for myself, like, it's like I talk about my clients, like, doing anything extreme too quickly.
Right.
Like, I got to build up to it.
Totally.
So that's where I'm at.
I mean, that's good. I'm kind of the same way. But coffee now makes me feel dehydrated, where if I drink a smoothie and I have an espresso shot in it or something light and minimal, I'm not feeling like I don't know, just like water 24/7. But
yeah, and everyone's different too. So like if that system works for you and you feel good, then there's no reason to change it, you know?
Yeah, I like the not going too extreme too fast, because sometimes I feel like when you do that, you kind of also wear yourself out in a bad way, because there was one point where I was doing ice baths every single morning at like, I told you this before we got on the podcast, at like 4 a.m.
You get hypothermia?
Probably. My parents were like, you're like, yeah, I was actually like sick. I remember when it snowed and it was like really cold a few weeks ago, maybe now. Yeah. But I'm like, it's definitely from taking ice baths and then like going on a run at like 5 a.m. around. Like, why? I'm like, I don't need to be doing that. Like, it's too much. But
no. Well, I think it kind of goes back to like, and the way I think is, I think that a lot of these things, there are benefits to ice baths, protein powders, different supplements. But for a lot of people, that kind of like general population, it's really just like making sure they're getting their basic habits down first,
Yeah.
which is just making sure they're getting enough quality sleep.
Right.
You know, like making sure they're getting enough protein just in their just daily diet, because a supplement's called a supplement for a reason. It's a supplement because they're not getting enough of what they should be getting.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what
exactly.
I mean?
Yeah,
So
totally.
I'm not saying that supplements are bad because they have a purpose and they help a lot of people, but just like like kind of connecting the dots that like it's always better to make sure you get whole foods first
Yeah.
and
I agree.
supplement the protein if you need it for you're short on time or something like that.
Yeah. What do you think are simple, I guess not simple fixes people can do in their day-to-day routines, but what's maybe something that you don't think enough people are incorporating in their day-to-day routine that could help them with just building better habits in general, whether it's their health or, for example, like putting your phone down before you go to bed, like an hour before you go to sleep. So you're not,
I mean, that's huge. And I'm not perfect at that. So
Me either, but I'm
I want
trying
to
to be.
just like put that out there. Something that's been really impactful for me is I've also stopped looking at, when I wake up in the morning, I obviously have my alarm clock, so I turn that off. But I don't look at my phone, I don't look at my emails, I don't look at my social media. And I woke up just like 20 minutes earlier, so nothing extreme. And I just get dressed and I go for a very short walk. And I'm talking like, it could even be like 5 minutes. Like it doesn't have to be anything extreme, but I found that when I got outside, I had time to just kind of like think about my day without distraction. Having that sort of like natural sunlight in my eyes really just kind of helped me wake up naturally
Yeah.
instead of going straight into my phone and straight into work. So I would come back and then I would kind of like have my breakfast and then look at my phone and start my day.
That's so
That
nice.
sort of it's a small change, but I do it every day. And I've been doing this for like a couple months now. And I feel like it's really helped me out with my mental clarity.
Wow.
And feel more just kind of like feel more in control of my day.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I feel like the natural sunlight and just getting up in the morning, you're right, not checking your phone, because I feel like since usually, at least me, I'm like on my phone or whatever for work or whatever it is, and it gets so consuming to where you're almost like stressed out. And if you wake up with that, it kind of sets the tone.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I just need like I said, like 20, 30 minutes where it's just like, I'm just focused on just my overall, just kind of like make sure everything's feeling good. My mental health is clear. Like,
Yeah.
and then I start the craziness.
Yeah, totally.
And then I jump into it.
Yeah. Then the chaos begins.
Yeah.
Are you someone who wakes up early?
It depends. Not crazy early. Like I used to when I was doing the gym days, I would wake up at like 5 o'clock to train people at 6 a.m.
Wow.
Maybe 4:30. It was crazy.
Yeah.
But no, now I'm waking up around. I would say I get up at like 6:37.
Okay.
Yeah, and just start my day from there.
That's a good time to get up.
I know, because I realized too. Again, I need like 7 hours of quality sleep.
Yeah.
Like if I don't get that, like I can be super productive and do a lot of stuff, but I've noticed like my creativity goes down, my anxiety goes up,
Yeah.
and I'm just like, I'm not, like in the short term I can get more done, in the long term it's hurting me.
Right.
So I'm trying to set those boundaries around getting enough sleep, and that goes back to like the principles of like what's important, whole foods, getting enough sleep, like just making sure I have a good foundation on those, and then like the other things like doing an ice bath, like that's bonus. There's definitely benefits to that, but making sure I'm getting the fundamental stuff down first.
Totally. Yeah, I used to use ice baths to wake up in the morning, and I know that's so crazy, but yeah, I just could not get myself to get up. So I was like, if you just force yourself to do an ice bath and start off with the worst possible thing possible for your day,
That's a good.
you're gonna wake up.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna try it. I've done it a couple times at Remedy Place. I don't know if you've been there.
I saw that you were there for their opening. They had I don't know, we were like in the process of me maybe joining them too for their opening, but I don't make really health and wellness stuff, so I think they're like, no, Lena. But yeah, so what's that like?
It's cold. Like you're brave for doing that every day.
Yeah, I know.
How
it's
long did
crazy.
you last?
Not long. I mean, my top one's like 3 minutes.
Okay, I was wrong. I was like, maybe I'll say I don't want to lose, but I was like 2 minutes and 50 seconds.
Oh, beat you. But yeah, they're hard. Like, they're a mental challenge. But I honestly started them from David Goggins, which we were talking about earlier too. But he just has like that crazy harsh mentality. I'm like, okay, if you can just start your day off with something that works for you, because if I'm like stressed when I wake up, that's the only thing that can get rid of my stress quick is an ice bath. Because I know I'm like, you can't think of anything else in that thing except for like how miserable you are. Because it's like your body's like in shock essentially.
Right.
Yeah, it's awful, but it's worth it. I also want to know how, because if you didn't start off as well, you like built into this passion in this career. How did you learn? Because now you're giving other people tips on their lifestyle and their eating habits. How did you learn? I don't want to say like learn health, but how did you learn all these eating habits and how to coach people?
So I tried it on myself first. So
Okay.
I tried keto diet. I tried paleo. I tried all these different things.
Oh, wow.
And, whatever I talk about, like I want to be the test subject first. And obviously I research it and make sure it's legit. And I've spent a lot of money on my education to obviously always improve my knowledge on different things about training and nutrition. So, that it's a learning. I'm still learning. Like there's still things I know I could do. I want to, learn more about, but
yeah. Would you say being disciplined is a big part of learning? Because obviously if you're doing keto diets and all of that, you're using yourself as your own best example, but you found out what works.
Well, I didn't last on the keto diet, so you could
no.
you could say discipline, but like I had a not good experience on that. So
Okay.
I did it for 30 days. It was just like, high protein, fats, no carbs, and I lost like 10 pounds in a month.
Oh, wow.
And again, I didn't have to lose it, but I wanted to try it out, and I just felt like I was like a walking zombie. Like I had headaches. My workouts were not great.
Keto diet's the diet with no carbs, right?
Yeah, very little.
Yeah.
So like, it kind of goes back to like a lot of these diets that I see. It's like, I'm pretty disciplined, but at the same time, like if I couldn't keep up with it, like I don't want to recommend that to a client because like, I don't know, like if I can't practice what I preach, like
Right.
it's kind of like it's not. So I've learned that I need to have more carbohydrates. So I'm not like afraid of carbs, but I just make sure that they're like, try to stay away from like super processed stuff. And I still have like pasta, pizza, like on an occasion. I'm not afraid of those foods. But I just make sure like the majority of the time I stick to mostly whole foods.
Yeah.
And as long as I keep that habit in place, like I'm pretty diligent about my eating during the week. That in the grand scheme of things, I'm gonna like my average, what I eat most of the time is pretty good.
Yeah.
But I'm not like obsessed with being perfect.
Right. Because then I saw this video the other day and it made me laugh. It was like, do you guys ever get bored of living your perfect lives, like eating your perfect food and blah, blah, blah? And it was essentially saying like, if you are making everything so perfect to the fact that it gets boring in a sense or whatever, because I think you're right. Like a balanced, know what works for you and like keep it is going to be the best solution.
Yeah, and it goes back to, again, like just not doing anything too extreme. And what I find is actually what's interesting for myself is I used to have a lot of processed foods, like especially when I was working in the corporate world. Like I was like kind of running on that sort of like those processed foods where I get like a lot of added sugar. I'll get those like spikes in energy.
Yeah.
And I crash, and there's like this cycle. But I've learned that my taste buds have actually they've changed over time. Because your taste buds will change just like your muscles change when you start lifting weights.
Yes.
Right? So you don't go to the gym and the first day you'll do like a heavy barbell back squat. You build up to that. And I think nutrition is very similar, where it's like if you're not used to eating like, whole foods that are, like you got to build up to that. Like you got to like figure out what's the stepping stone to get you to that place.
Yeah.
And that's really where I try to come in. I try to bridge the gap to make it so it's sustainable for them, make sure they actually enjoy what they're eating.
Yeah.
Because in terms of like weight loss, like it all starts with nutrition.
Totally.
And also like drinking's a big part too. And that was something else I had to kind of like lean myself away from alcohol.
Yeah. Was that kind of hard to do?
The hardest part about not drinking alcohol for me, because I want to state this too, like I never had a problem drinking alcohol. I wasn't alcoholic, but
Right.
like I realized that there was a lot of peer pressure when I was going out that I wanted to fit in. So like I'd go out and I'd have a few drinks and nothing outrageous, but like on Monday and Tuesday, like I just never felt like I had like quality energy. And I was
Yeah.
like, I had all these goals in my mind and I'm like, if I keep doing this, like it's just going to slow me down.
Yeah, exactly.
So I leaned myself away from it. I started cutting back on the alcohol, cutting back, and eventually I got to the point where I was like, how is this benefiting me? It's slowing me, it's making my sleep not good. So alcohol is terrible for your sleep. It affects your REM sleep. So you may fall asleep faster, but the quality of sleep is going to be lower. So that's a big thing.
That's interesting.
And then it's not even just the calories. It's more of the sleep.
Yeah.
And how it affects your recovery.
Yeah.
And then, like drinking, especially in New York, is extremely expensive.
Oh my God, it's so expensive. Unless you're like out at an event and it's just there, which is bad too, honestly, because it's hard. I mean, I agree, it's a social thing. It's or whatever. I guess for everyone else it is, but
totally.
Yeah.
And I just was like, well, how is this benefiting me? So I stopped doing it. The biggest thing was, again, goes back to the social aspect of it.
Yeah.
And what I've learned was, a lot of my friends they still bust my chops every once in a while.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I found that like, a lot of people just aren't able, like confidence-wise, to just say I'm good and still be in a social setting. It's a huge sign of confidence to not give in to that pressure. And then people I found actually respect that.
Yeah.
It's like, because you got to be really comfortable with yourself.
Yes.
And that's not easy.
No, it's not. This is actually a perfect example because I was at 2 events last night and I just had one drink, but I put it back. I like drank half it and put it back, and I was like, nope. Like, I have a great podcast tomorrow. I'm just like, I'm good. Like, I don't need it. And everyone was like, oh my God, you're so mature. And I was like, no, I'm not mature. I'm just, I know what's important. So.
Yeah. And I also want to state this too. Like, so I went a full year without any alcohol.
Oh, wow.
I went a full year. I started with the goal though that I was going to do. I told everyone, I was like, I'm just doing a month dry. So I started off with a month.
Cool.
And I went out those first couple weekends and it was hard. Like, I was not used to the people like questioning me. Yeah. But then I learned, again, I would just get like club soda and lime, and then no one, like after like 20 minutes, no one even knew.
No one like pesters you. No one's like peer pressure. Like.
Exactly. So the peer pressure went away, and then
that's smart.
And then I just like, I became more comfortable with just going out like without having to rely on having a drink as a crutch.
Yeah.
And then I went a month and I was like, man, I haven't felt this good in like a long time.
See, that's awesome.
And then what happened was my productivity shot up. This wasn't my main goal, but like my body was really reacting positively to not drinking. Like, I noticed physically some really positive changes, and I was like, whoa, I'm like hitting a new level that I didn't even know I could hit.
Yeah. It's like that natural high. Like
I just kind of kept going with it, and I went a full year without drinking, and it was a game changer. That was a big point, I think, also that broke me out in my career, because I knew I needed the energy. I needed that like little bit of energy to kind of like to get me out of the to get me to that next level.
Yeah. Because when you're drinking, not to interrupt you, but when you're drinking and going out every night and working a corporate job and trying to work out, or like you said, eating those foods that are in an office setting, I mean, it's not sustainable.
Well, everything's interconnected. So you think about, like, when I talk about like sleep affects, alcohol affects your sleep. Even a glass of wine a night, like that, you can fall asleep faster, but your quality of sleep is going to be lower. Yeah. So what happens is you get less sleep, and then what happens is your cravings go up. Right. So then your hunger cravings. So it's harder to control your nutrition.
Right.
And then we talk about, nutrition is the most important thing to losing weight. And it's like, so it's like a snowball effect. So I just like, we want to start with like the most important thing, and then kind of like make sure we get better at those habits. And then all the other things start snowballing and improving.
Yes.
Once we focus on like one positive habit there, and that could just be cutting back the drinking.
Yeah, exactly. And then once you get to that point where, because I got to a point too where I didn't drink alcohol for honestly like 6 months, even over summer, like just like didn't feel a need for it. And I got to a point where I just felt so naturally just able to do anything, have a conversation with anyone, not rely on whatever, because to like feel good or whatnot. And I don't know, even being in New York City, I know people are like going on dates and they're doing this and they're doing everything, but I truly agree with you. It's a superpower if you can just be natural and I mean, not have that craving for it, because you're right, everything else is going to go.
Yeah. And And I think the other thing too is like I just want to state this too. Like I still like today like I may have an occasional drink.
Yeah.
Because like I'm again like this isn't for someone that's like has an alcohol problem.
Right.
Right. This is just me doing it because I want to
Your health,
feel for my health and kind of be my best self. And I knew
Totally.
it was kind of slowing me down. But like for my sister's wedding, you know, I had a glass of champagne. Like I'll
Yeah.
still do that, but I'm just like, and when I drink now, it's just different. I'm like, I don't even think I need it.
Yeah.
But like in a special occasion, I'll still have like one drink or something like that.
Yeah. I'm the same way, honestly, because I notice, at least for me, if I am going out and I have more, like, honestly, like 2 drinks is like my max. I won't ever go above 2 drinks. But if I even have more than that, I'm like, I just feel it so much more now. And I like can't work out the next day, or I can't, I don't know, you just.
I know. It's like once I hit 30, I was like, oh man.
This
isn't what I felt
25,
like when
I was like,
in my
nope.
early 20s.
Yeah. It sucks. Your body changes, though. And I think it's important to notice those changes and just to not keep going at it so hard. Like, I think it's good that you can ease up and also teach people to live a sustainable life and still have fun.
Totally. It's all, you know, and it doesn't have to be so extreme.
Yeah.
Like you kind of build up to those habits and then naturally you're just, you know, over time you look back and you're like, wow, like, you know, I feel better in the process. I look better. Like that maybe wasn't like the most important thing, but like when you start working on these habits, they compound and then
Totally.
and then you look back and you're like, I've made, you know, like I'm a better version of myself.
Yeah. And do you think now your life correlates with, you said that it's very fulfilling to you, and now I'm sure you've probably met like-minded people too that relate to you on these things, and you probably have better conversations all around when you're hanging out with those people too. Do you think friends also influence all these things, mindset and everything?
Yeah, I think so. One of the most important things is creating your environment.
Yes.
So I want to talk about this for, again, someone that wants to improve their nutrition, whether it's the people that you're around constantly or the food that's in your house. You want to make sure you have, like, I'll compare this to food. So like, I make sure that I have plenty of groceries and whole foods in my house. And I'm not like, I'll have like sometimes I'll have a candy bar or whatever, but I'm not keeping it in my house.
Smart.
Because what happens is when I have those cravings, it's usually late and I'm tired and I'm not really hungry, but I just want something. And most of the time I just resort to having like an apple or something that's like in front of me because it's more convenient.
Right.
So like that takes away that solves a lot of my issues. But on the flip side, like if I really, really want it, like I'll go out and I'll walk and get it.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to be so extreme where I'm not going to like restrict it, but I'm creating the environment to promote these healthier lifestyle changes.
Yeah.
And I know they work. They're so important because, for example, when I go home, I love my parents, but you know, they have a lot of food around that I know isn't the best.
Yeah.
And you know, me being like a fitness and nutrition coach, when I see those chocolates out, I mean, I'm gonna choose the chocolates over the fruit.
For sure, any day. I'm
so
the
I
same
just
way.
like
Yeah.
it's like creating your environment, you know? And the same thing can go for the people that you're around. And I don't think you ever have to cut people out. I don't promote that, but like you want to be around people that are on a similar journey or like trying to improve themselves, because they're gonna rub off on you.
Yeah, I think the environment thing is important because I don't know, even from like coming from kind of like a smaller town and whatnot, people are always like, why do you want to go to New York? Or why do you want to go to Los Angeles? And it's like, I don't know, you need to create your environment. Like people who want the same thing and just overall your best being, I think like you know yourself best, obviously. So especially with the food stuff, I'm the same way. Like I will never buy like cookies or I don't know, anything that I know I'm going to like splurge on if I get home one night from an event or something that I'm like, it's just there. It's easy access.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's smart.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to ever kind of make it harder on yourself.
Yeah, but at the same time, like if I really want something, like I'll go out and I'll get it. But I'm just not gonna keep it like in front of me when I'm at home.
Yeah.
Because I just know, like I know myself.
Yeah. No, that's how I am too. I think that's smart though, because I mean, that's why we live in New York too. Just everything's right around the corner.
I know.
Anything that you want. Oh, I was gonna ask you this too. Do you think, since you are living in a big city, and you're going on a run outside or whatever, do you think it is harder to be disciplined here food-wise because you have everything at your fingertips?
Yeah, I think it is harder. I think so I think about nutrition again the same way as I think about working out, where it's like I don't work out every single day. I work out. I know I commit myself to working out at minimum 3 days a week.
Okay.
If I can get 4 or 5, like that's a bonus, but like I don't put that pressure on myself. So I think about eating as like if you're not used to cooking your own food or like I think that you want to start with kind of some like setting some just kind of like making that commitment to cooking at home for a couple of days a week.
Okay.
Not saying every meal you have to do that, or you can get like a meal service to start off with if that's completely foreign to you.
Yeah.
But just like making sure you're having some structure on those what you're consuming, and then you can go out on a weekend with a friend and not have to be overly stressful about what you're eating. You still want to choose the better choices, but like being able to enjoy that experience because it's one meal is not going to derail you from your progress.
Right.
It's what you average throughout the month that's going to really make an impact. So if most of your meals are good, then you're probably going to be okay.
Yeah, I agree. I think also too, because at least this is feedback from what I hear from my friends. Sometimes, well, I do have friends that love to cook, but I also have friends who get stressed out about cooking. And I'm like, no, just make something simple. Like just put salmon in the oven or put like tomatoes and mushrooms and make rice with it or.
Yeah, sometimes you're trying to make a gourmet dish and it's
like,
you know what, just like start simple. And the other thing too is I want to talk about like some people, they think like, oh, the food I eat is like, I need like, more flavors. But what really you got to get creative is like start with some seasonings, get some like low calorie condiments and make sure you actually enjoy what you're eating.
Yeah.
And when I'm talking about too, your taste buds will actually adapt. Like over time, you'll become accustomed to what you're eating and you'll actually probably grow to like it more and more. So just like you just got to, but you don't want to start with something so extreme. You kind of have to work your way into it.
Right. Yeah. I love that you say that because your taste buds definitely adapt. Even when I cut out a lot of sugar and stuff when I was living in LA, I like did a whole lifestyle change just because I wanted to be better and go on more runs and stuff. But now when I eat sugar or anything, I like get an instant headache.
Yeah, so now it's like I don't know if you drink soda or not, but like if you haven't had it in a while, if you've been the person who's like, if I remember when I was younger, I used to drink soda all the time.
Yeah.
That was just like what I would do, and then I would crave soda all the time.
Yeah.
And then when I stopped, it was kind of hard those first couple weeks, but then after that, I was like, I had soda, down the road, and I was like, man, this is way too sweet for me.
Yeah.
It's like crazy how the taste buds change. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that's smart because then honestly, everyone can use themselves as their own best example and hold themselves accountable to be like, if I know my taste buds are going to change. That's why I feel like this is important information for people to know because then they know that their taste buds are going to change. Okay, with this insight, down the road, if you just break a bad habit.
Yeah, focus on one habit at a time.
Yeah.
Make sure you really own it.
Yeah.
And then once you own it, then, we can progress that habit or we can add another one in.
Yeah.
And then you look back in 3 and 6 months from when you started and it's not if you get results, it's when.
Yeah.
And that's because it works. And I want to just be that person. Yes, I create a personalized fitness plan. Yes, I create a personalized nutrition plan, but I'm really sort of like their mentor and guiding them through this process because there's so many times where you question yourself. You're like, I don't know if I can do this or like work, like we live in New York. So like, this is a crazy environment. Like work could be crazy. You may be traveling, but like, how do you bridge the gap and not go off the rails those times? And that's where they can reach out to me and I can help them problem solve. And the other thing too is like, I always find there's like an intensity knob. Mm-hmm. There's times where sometimes you're feeling good, you got good sleep, your work's okay. I'm going to turn the intensity knob up those times. There's times where work's crazy, like life is hard, you have a lot of stress, and then I'm going to pull that knob back a little bit, but just still make sure you maintain your basic pillar habits.
Yeah, as long as you can do your best with whatever routine you have and noticing those things, I think is going to help you in the long run because, your routines are crazy and working a job is crazy and getting up, going to the gym it's all crazy, but you just have to choose what works best for you.
Yeah, just be patient with it.
Yeah, and hold yourself accountable.
Yeah.
Is there any, looking back on it all, and we'll wrap up kind of, but is there any challenges that you wish you had done differently or any, because you said you had like a huge mindset shift from this whole pivot and everything. And looking back, like, is there anything you would have done differently?
I think I knew it was I wish I did this. Like the only thing I regret is just I wish I did this earlier.
Love that.
Like I knew in my gut like I should be doing something around health, fitness, nutrition, wellness, but I didn't see a career path when I was younger, and I was like I want to make a good living, so I didn't do it. I just stuck like the kind of corporate job, and I realized that today you can actually make a living doing those things or doing really almost like anything you're really passionate about, like with social media, with the world's a big place, and there's a lot of people that are interested in what you're learning or interested, they need some help.
Yeah.
So it's like I really feel like as long as you kind of like follow your passion and like work hard, you can't get around not working hard, like that's just a given. But like you can do like so many different things today. So like if you're not happy in the day to day, like you can change and there's something else you could do.
Totally
Just
agree.
don't be afraid. Just go for it because you could always go back to where you were.
Yeah, that's such a good point. Just got the chills. That was really good. Oh my God, that was amazing. Yeah, you totally can. And I think that you're smart for honestly using social media to your advantage too, because I know I was like, what do I call you, a creator and influencer? But you're really just trying to be genuine with who you are and your audience and building a business that stays.
Yeah, and I hope we're good on time, but
Yeah, we are.
but when I started the social media 6 months ago, I had 2,000 followers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but it goes back to that mindset where I was like, I'm growing this. I want to be this online, fitness nutrition coach. Like I have this vision for myself, but if I'm doing what I'm doing now, like it's not going to work. So it goes back to what I did with my cold calling days. I was like, I'm going to post every single day on TikTok and I'm going to fail a lot,
Yeah.
but eventually I'm going to start understanding like what's working and what's not working. And today, 6 months later, I'm at 100,000 followers on Instagram.
So sick.
So,
Amazing.
but it was sort of that mindset shift where like I can't control how many people follow me, but I can control my actions. And I know that if I do these actions and I'm just looking to get 1% better each week, the results, it's not if they come, it's just a matter of time and just being patient with that.
Do you think you had to overcome what you looked like to other people while building that, starting from scratch? Like, were you ever afraid of like, oh, if I post this, like, I might get made fun of by my friends?
Oh, totally. I think, again, I was my own biggest enemy, I would say, my mind, like just like holding me back from like really going into it. But then I realized that I grew a thicker skin over time, and then just like it builds up. Like even like the courage I have, I mean, even be here, like this is new for me. Like, I have some butterflies in my stomach doing this, but but like as long as like I keep kind of pushing that comfort zone, that's where the growth is. That's where you improve, and just like taking those small steps every day, they compound, they add up, and you look back at where you are 3-6 months, a year from now, and you're like, this is totally different.
Yeah, I totally agree, and that's great advice. I think you're right. You have to overcome it, because if you're leading your best life and trying to get to your best self, there's going to be uncomfortable things that you have to do. And I look at it as like, if people have a problem with that, it's like, that's okay. Like
there's always people that are going to judge, but at the end of the day, like it's your job to make you happy.
Yeah.
And you got to be your best you got to be your own best advocate for yourself.
I agree.
And if you just put your best effort forward, you know what, like there's gonna be a lot of times you're gonna fail. Like I failed, I'm still failing a lot, but at the same time, like I know I'm gonna get back up and I'm gonna learn from those failures. I'll be more prepared next time.
Yeah, exactly. And every day you're gonna get better.
Yeah.
Even if it's 1%, that's the goal.
That's the goal.
Yeah. Tom, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. This was so much fun.
I appreciate it.
I'll end with 2 questions. Advice you would tell your younger self, if anything, or the self that you are now. And do you ever think it's fully possible to master a certain craft or passion?
I think the biggest thing I wish I did is trust my gut, because I knew what direction I should be going into, but I kind of fell down the trap of doing what I thought everyone else wanted me to do, or what was like the acceptable job and like during those times. And I think that just trusting and betting on myself that I could do it is something I wish I knew in my earlier 20s. And just being patient, like understanding that like you're not gonna have all the answers in the beginning, but as long as you kind of have like your North Star of where you want to go, you'll look back and you'll realize that like you're heading in the right direction, because I feel like everyone kind of knows it in their heart or their gut, but they're just like, they're afraid of the judgment. They're afraid of like failing.
Yeah.
But if you can get over that, you can do a lot. You can do more than you think.
Yeah, you're gonna do great things. You're gonna be invincible.
Hopefully, that's what I'm picturing for myself. I'm wishing this. This is self-talk for myself.
Yeah, no, I think that's the best way, honestly, that you can go about life, because you just can't be afraid of following your own dreams, destiny, whatever it is.
That's the goal. That's what I'm trying to do right now. Like, I don't know how this is gonna work out in 2 years from now.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna give it my all, and I think it's gonna work out.
Yeah. It's
I just feel like I feel it in my gut that I'm gonna be in a better position 2 years from now.
It's that blind faith.
It's blind faith, exactly. Like, and I have a vision for myself where I want to be. Again, I don't know how the times where I'm gonna fall, and I know it's gonna happen many times, but I'm just gonna keep going.
Yeah, I think that's the best thing you can do.
Yeah. So we'll see.
Yeah,
Hopefully we'll do another interview.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 2 years down the road, we're gonna be like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Be doing this full time. We're gonna be like, see, we have blind faith. That's great. And then where can people find you at?
Tom McGee Fit. That's for TikTok, Instagram,
Awesome.
YouTube.
Cool.
So that's the best way to find me.
Okay, sweet. And then just the final question: do you think it's possible to fully master your craft?
Yeah, 100%. Like I said, 1% better. Just take your time. It's a process.
Yeah.
And actually, I don't. In a sense of mastering, I think there's always things are going to always change and evolve. So like.
That's true.
I think you can become really good, but I don't know if I want to say 100% mastery.
Yeah, there's always room to.
There's always room to improve.
Yeah. That's the good thing about life, though. Got something to look forward to.
Exactly.
Cool. Thanks so much, Tom.
Thank you.
So much fun. I hope you enjoyed today's episode with Tom McGee. And once again, if you guys could like and rate the podcast, it would mean so much to me. Thanks, and tune in next week for episode 5. Okay, cheers. I hope you all have a great week. Thanks.